Good afternoon. Welcome to the Washington State Transportation Commission's virtual public input meeting. My name is Debbie Young. I'm the chair of the Transportation Commission this year. And the meeting you're attending today is to review tolling options and considerations for the new State Route 509 and 167 expressways. We're going to be having a short presentation. We'll be taking as many questions as we can, and then there'll be an opportunity for public comment. And if during the meeting you want to ask a question, you can enter it in the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. And further, if you would like to make a comment, you can enter your name in the Q&A box. And later on in the meeting, when we get to public comment, you'll be given an opportunity to make that comment. This meeting is going to be recorded today. And if you're engaging in the meeting from your car, we encourage you to pull over and park and engage in the meeting safely while you're not driving. The State Transportation Commission is made up of 7 members, and most of us are here today. Other than myself, the Vice Chair, Commissioner Restucci, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jim Restucci, Commissioner from Yakima County, serving as Vice Chair.
Commissioner Baldwin.
Thank you. This is good afternoon, everybody. This is J.C. Baldwin. I'm a commissioner from Chelan County.
Commissioner Batra.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Shiv Batra, and I'm commissioner from King County.
Commissioner Fukai.
Hello, everyone. Kelly Fukai, commissioner from Spokane County.
And Commissioner Jennings.
Roy Jennings from Clark County.
And Commissioner Grant from the Puget Sound area is unable to join us today. And with that, I'm going to hand the meeting off to our Vice Chair, Commissioner Restucci.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Okay, so moving on to item 2, which is the tolling the Puget Sound Gateway Expressways. We have Carl C., Deputy Director for the Washington State Transportation Commission, and John White, Program Administrator for the Puget Sound Gateway Program with WashDOT. Gentlemen, you have the floor.
Thank you, Vice Chair Restucci. Appreciate that. And before we get underway with the formal presentation, I'll walk through some meeting operations and public comment guidelines for today. First, if you wish to provide comments to the commission, please put your name in the Q&A box. That is found at the bottom of your screen. And we'll call on you during the public comment period that will follow the presentation and some question and answer period. If you have questions but do not wish to speak, you can put your questions in the Q&A box, also in the same Q&A box found at the bottom of the screen, and we'll respond to them following the presentation. So if you have questions that come up during the presentation, feel free to put those in the Q&A box and we'll address those afterwards. And finally, please keep your questions and comments to the topic of toll rate setting for the Puget Sound Gateway Expressway facilities. And a request to also be respectful and in your comments and in your questions. Appreciate that. Next slide. As Chair Young referenced, we are the Washington State Transportation Commission, and the commission itself is made up of an independent 7-member body of citizens appointed by the governor for 6-year terms. 3 are from east of the mountains and 4 are from west of the mountains. We also have representation from WashDOT with the WashDOT secretary and the governor's office serving as non-voting members. Importantly, as context for the discussion here today, the State Transportation Commission is designated as the state tolling authority, so responsible for setting toll rates and policies for toll facilities, as well as ferry fares for state ferries. Next slide. So, thank you, everyone who is in attendance here today, but also want to note that there are several ways for public involvement to be part of this process that we are going through with the rate setting for the gateway facilities. This includes going to our online open house. This is available to be accessed on our website that's listed here on the slide. This went up on March 24th and will be available through Sunday, April 6th. Today is the second, of course, of the two virtual public input meetings following the virtual public input meeting we had yesterday evening. We'll also have an opportunity for written public comment through at least June 10th. You can go to our website to submit those comments. And then finally, we will have our final public hearing and adoption at our June commission meeting, June 17th and 18th. This will follow the selection of a preferred toll rate option for these facilities on April 16th at our April commission meeting in Bellevue. And so welcome to tune in to that meeting as well. Next slide. So with that quick overview, I'm going to pass off to John White here for an overview of the Puget Sound Gateway Program.
Thank you, Carl. Appreciate that. My name is John White. I'm going to provide a quick high-level overview of the Gateway Program and what our delivery status is with respect and some of the details that are relevant here to the Commission's toll rate setting process. So the Gateway Program is tasked with completing the two primary missing links within the Puget Sound freeway network, and that is completing SR 509 in South King County, extending it from where it ends today at South 188th Street in SeaTac over to I-5 and making improvements to I-5 that correlates with that, and then completing the SR 167 corridor in North Pierce County, extending it from where it currently ends. The freeway portion ends in Puyallup at SR 410, SR 161, and extending that over to connect to I-5 and then over beyond that to the Port of Tacoma and downtown Tacoma. The Gateway Program is based around completing these missing links to providing improved critical connections to the ports of Tacoma and Seattle, connecting them to I-5 and more efficiently connecting them to the warehouse and distribution centers that they rely on for the movement of freight and goods and the freight, in support of the freight-related economy here in the state. And overall, we are ensuring the more reliable movement of people and goods throughout the Puget Sound region. Next slide. So the Gateway Program delivery is structured around multiple construction contracts and projects within each corridor. In general, we're structured with between stage 1 and stage 2 projects. In both corridors here, the early stage 1 projects are complete and open to traffic. When you're traveling the I-5 corridor or in the vicinity of these two corridors and you see the active construction going on right now, those are the stage 1B projects. In the SR 509 corridor, that completes the first mile of SR 509 Expressway and much of the I-5 required I-5 improvements. That one is scheduled to open to traffic here this summer with tolling to follow shortly afterwards. They'll be discussed in more detail here today. And then down in the 167 corridor, the stage 1B project is building the first 2 miles of new expressway from I-5 over to the Port of Tacoma and downtown Tacoma. That one's under construction and is expected to open to traffic next fall, with tolling initiating on that project for those first 2 miles before the end of next year in 2026. As far as the stage 2 projects, stage 2 of SR 509 is under construction right now. That work is visible in Burien and Des Moines, and that work is expected to be complete by late 2028. In the 167 corridor, stage 2 was broken up into 2 projects as a response to construction market challenges we are facing. And with that, we have a stage 2A project that's at the east end of the corridor in Puyallup that makes improvements from SR 161 Meridian Avenue, rebuilding that interchange and improving it out towards 410 and Sumner. And then stage 2B is the final expressway contract in the 167 corridor that will extend from Puyallup through Fife over to I-5 and complete the I-5 interchange. That one is expected to begin construction in 2026. The last project within the program is an independent fish barrier mitigation project referred to as a Clear Creek project. They'll begin construction sometime between 2026 and 2028. Next slide. A bit about Gateway's funding composition. We are primarily funded, at least the largest source of funding is state funds through the Connecting Washington and Move Ahead Washington transportation packages. But you'll note in the text in the upper right there that we do have quite a bit of, within that, there's quite a bit of federal funding that's made available to WashDOT that's been channeled towards Gateway. We also have, at this point in time, $180 million in toll funding that has been assumed within the legislative budget to deliver Gateway. We have a almost $74 million federal grant, a national competitive grant called an infra grant. And then we had a requirement, legislative requirement for $130 million in local funding contributions from our many local partners in both corridors. We have agreements with 18 partners and have been successful in actually exceeding that $130 million requirement, and right now stand just shy of $143 million in local contributions. You will note at the bottom right, we do have a funding gap that is tied to completing the last projects in the Gateway program and closing out the program. That has been active conversation and coordination priority between WashDOT and the Gateway program and the governor's office and legislature. And that is, there's various legislative proposals on the table right now that would address that funding gap. Next slide. So tolling's been contemplated and considered for many years in each of these corridors. You can see the trajectory there going back to 2010. It's really been more formalized from 2018 on through here in 2025 with the legislature authorizing tolling and authorizing toll bonding. Back in 2019, where they authorized up to $340 million in toll bonding for the Gateway program, as well as the use of tolling in both corridors. And then we sit here today in 2025 with our level 3 investment grade traffic and revenue study, which is the more rigorous analysis required to support issuance of toll bonds, as well as the commission's rate setting process. Next slide. A little bit about the toll points and tolling approach. Each of these new expressway segments or portions of the 509 and 167 corridors are 4 lanes. All lanes are tolled. The level of tolling varies by time of day, with peak tolls in the periods around congestion and with highest congestion in commute periods. In the 509 corridor, there's 1 toll point west of I-5 and just east of the 24th, 28th corridor, which is an access point, south access point to the SeaTac International Airport, as well as an access point to the many warehouse and distribution centers in the area. In the 167 corridor, there's a toll point west of I-5 in that 2-mile segment from I-5 to the Port of Tacoma. And there's another toll point east of I-5 between I-5 and Valley Avenue and Fife. It's important to note here that the tolls only apply to these newly constructed expressway segments, and they do not apply to the existing portions and freeways or local state highway sections of SR 509 or SR 167. So it's only the new expressway segments. Down below, you'll note that in the 509 corridor is again the first segment is expected to begin tolling in October of this year. The full corridor will go into service by fall of 2028. In the 167 corridor, we'll initiate the first toll segment in December of 2026, with the full corridor being in service by fall of 2029. Next slide. Carl, I think at this point, I'm turning it back to you.
Thank you, John. Appreciate that. So next, I'll give an overview of the toll rate options and policies under review by the Commission. So to lead off, this slide is similar to what John spoke to, but I want to just highlight a few elements here specific to our work for tolling. As John noted, the expressways will be tolled only on the portions that are new facilities. So those existing roadways, existing portions of the highway will not be tolled. To begin, or as an overview, the total expressways on 509 and 167 will both help manage traffic and help fund construction and ongoing maintenance for the roadways. Tolling on the first portion of the 509 expressway up near SeaTac Airport is expected to begin in October 2025, and that's the portion between I-5 and South 24th Avenue South, about 1 mile segment. Next, tolling on the SR 167 expressway west of I-5 will begin, and that's expected to begin in December of 2026. That's connecting the Port of Tacoma with I-5. And finally, importantly, the commission will adopt toll rates for both the 509 and 167 expressways and all the segments. The toll rates will be all adopted in June of 2025, so this upcoming June. Next slide. So I'm going to go through each of these columns in more detail in the following slides. I want to give you an overview of the different tolling options under consideration for the 509 and 167 expressways. You can see first going from left to right, we have toll rates that are being proposed for each of the expressways and for each of the segments of the expressways. And I'll touch on those in a moment a little further. Next, there in the middle, you have the 3-axle vehicle toll rates. And you can see there's a consideration of whether to apply a higher toll rate for 3-axle vehicles compared to 2-axle vehicles, or to have the same rates for all vehicles using the facility. Next, toll escalation. There is consideration of a 2.15% annual toll rate increase starting July 1st of 2030, and I'll get back to that here in a moment. And finally, a low-income discount. There's consideration of either a 50% discount for qualifying households on the SR 509 Expressway within a geographic region, or consideration of a system-wide low-income tolling discount program that I'll speak to again here in a moment. So first, toll rates. So for the SR 509 Expressway, toll rates are proposed to be the same 7 days a week. And as you see here, and as John spoke to a point, they vary by hour of day, with higher rates during the peak hours and lower rates during the off-peak and overnight hours. In the case of the expressways, we are having different rates applied at different times of day by direction, and you can see that here. The light green toll bars are for northbound on SR 509, and here is the higher rates are in effect during the peak hours in the morning. So from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. it's at $2.40 northbound, but it's down at $1.80 during the peak hour in the afternoon for northbound. Southbound, it's the reverse. You see that the peak hour during the afternoon is at $2.40 between 3 and 6 p.m., while in the mornings, southbound, you have the $1.80 for the peak hours. So this is something we have not implemented this directional toll rates on our other facilities, but it is in alignment with the traffic analysis that we've seen for these facilities. Next slide. So in a similar way, these are the daily 7 days a week proposed toll rates for the SR 167 Expressway. In this case, there are 2 segments. So let me walk through that here first. Opening in December of 2026, we have the SR 167 west of I-5. And that's where you see here as in yellow, the $1 toll rates for both directions at all times of the day. There really isn't the variation in traffic that we expect on that facility. And so we're proposing to hold those rates steady throughout the day in both directions. For east of I-5 on SR 167, we do have that variation by direction again, as we have on SR 509. In this case, eastbound has the higher rates during the afternoon, evening peak hours, where you see the $3 during those peak hours, while westbound has the higher rates in the morning between 6 to 9 a.m. At $3 as well. Sorry. So next, the 3+ axle vehicle toll rates. So first, just for a sense of understanding, when I speak to 3-axle vehicle toll rates, I'm referring to, think about semi trucks, vehicles towing a trailer, or large buses, buses like coaches that might go over long distances, where you see the three tires on both sides of the vehicle, 3 or more tires on both sides of the vehicle. I'll speak to some of the considerations around having these higher rates on the next slide, but here just to say this is how these rates would differ by axle compared to that base rate, the 2-axle vehicle rate that you see on the left. So for a $1 rate, for example, a 3-axle vehicle would pay $1.50, a 4-axle vehicle would pay $2, 5-axle vehicle $2.50, and a 6 or more axle vehicle would pay $3. And a similar calculation is applied for each of the rates and escalated as such for additional axles. Importantly, this is an approach that is consistent with our other state toll facilities where such vehicles are permitted to be on the facility. So if we were to apply this approach, if the commission was to apply this approach, it would be consistent with our other state facilities. Next slide, please. So some of the considerations to keep in mind that the commission is keeping in mind as they look at and consider a 3-axle vehicle toll rate. One, at a high level, the expressways themselves are expected to significantly attract truck and auto trips to them because they are shifting traffic off of local facilities and therefore improving operations for all users. As a new facility that does not exist yet, it is going to provide relief to roadways that exist currently having those trucks on them and other cars on them. In consideration of whether or not to have a higher toll rate in place for these larger vehicles, a couple things to keep in mind. Not doing this higher rate would slightly increase the number of trucks using the SR 167 and 509 expressways, but it would not be expected to change traffic operations or overall performance on local and regional facilities. So it'd be a small shift, but not considered to be a large change in overall operations or performance for those local and regional facilities in the area. On the revenue side, in support of meeting the financial requirements for the facilities, in support for the construction and ongoing operations and maintenance, including the higher proposed toll rates for 3+ axle vehicles would increase net revenue by about 10% on both expressways. So just a sense of the trade-offs for this question around the 3-axle vehicle toll rates. Next slide, please. So toll rate escalation. For both, as noted, for both the 509 and 167 expressways, a 2.15% annual toll rate increase is proposed starting July 1st, 2030. That would align with having all the different segments open for the facility. Annual increases, if you translate that to dollars and cents, would be about 5 cents per year with that 2.15%, or I should say initially about 5 cents per year. The intent, as intended in statute, is to have toll revenues keep pace with inflation in support of operations and maintenance costs for the facilities. Importantly, any toll escalation would be subject to annual review and approval by the Transportation Commission before going into effect. So if the commission does look at that and decides to pull that back, that would be an option for the commissioners to decide upon. Finally, the question around low-income tolling. As noted, there are two options the commissioners are considering at this point in time. The first is a geographic-based approach specific to the SR 509 Expressway. This was an option that the legislature directed WashDOT to assess for consideration by the commission. This would assess applying a toll discount for residents living in zip codes within 1 mile of the SR 509 completion project corridor. Some concerns that have come up from the commission about this approach is that the program cost and complexity required to manage the residency information would be more burdensome than some alternative. And as well, also it provides a benefit to local residents, but not to other low-income drivers who may be using the facility on a regular basis. So next slide. An alternative the commission is considering is that to ensure all low-income drivers can seek toll relief, advancing a system-wide tolling program providing a 50% low-income discount to qualifying drivers that would first apply to the Puget Sound Gateway program facilities, both SR 509 and SR 167 expressways. And then as new facilities come online, it would be intended to apply to them as well, such as potentially the I-5 bridge over the Columbia River. This would begin for the expressways in December, intended to begin in December of 2026, which would be about 6 months or so later than a 509 specific program would be able to be implemented. Importantly, eligibility would not be based on where a driver lives. So a key distinction from the 509 geographic approach. Participants would receive a discount on all the toll facilities for which a program is offered. So initially the 509 and 167 expressways, but then as others are become part of the program, then those individuals who qualify would also have a discount on those facilities. And importantly, for going forward, existing facilities that are currently tolled, SR 520 bridge, 99 tunnel, et cetera, would be considered in the future, but only as toll rate changes come up. And so there would need to be a consideration of whether or not that discount could be extended to those facilities and have approval from the commission before doing so for those existing facilities. Next slide. So with that, that's a run through on the different policy and toll rate options that we have in front of us. And thank you, John, for your walkthrough of the Gateway program as well. So from here, we will open it up to questions that we've received, and I think Vice Chair Restucci will walk us through some of those questions.
Thank you, Carl. First, are there any questions from the commissioners? Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at what we have in the Q&A. So the first question is from Kate Richardson, says, why not toll on the basis of vehicle weight?
Region, this is a capacity value. Basically, if you ran all the generating resources of the region at their max capacity, here's what we would expect hydropower to take up. It's more than half of the energy capacity in the region. And if you're...
Thank you.
Thank you.
Carl, do you want to handle that?
Sure. I can say right now the method of applying truck toll rates throughout the state has been to use the axles as a proxy for the size of the facility of the vehicle, as opposed to a system that does have weight of the vehicle incorporated. It's a possibility to be considered at some point in the future. It's not the current technology that is in place that WashDOT is using on facilities in the state. So right now the focus is on the axle approach consistent with our other facilities. I don't know if John or Ed want to add to that, but that's been the direction at this point.
I'm here for Ed today, Carl.
Sorry, Jennifer.
I think you're correct. There's not a lot of toll facilities in the country that use weight. The industry standard is to use axle or shape of the vehicle as a proxy for weight.
Thank you. Next question. Doesn't Good to Go have my zip code? Does Good to Go have the zip code stored in their database?
That depends on the customer. So if a customer is has opened a good to go account. There's no requirement that they provide their address to us. If it is a pay by mail customer that we are, where we've captured their license plate and are working through the Department of Licensing, then we likely would have their zip code. I will note, however, for the purposes of discounts, typically we require eligibility determination before the trip is taken, not after.
Thank you, Jennifer. Okay, next question. Plans to ameliorate toxic surface runoff and increased air pollution and noise. So I'm assuming environmental. John,
Maybe I
do you want
should
to take
that
this?
one, Vice Chair. So in both corridors, WashDOT has completed really substantive environmental assessment and analysis that was part of our what's called NEPA and SEPA approvals, so the National and State Environmental Policy Act approvals that we have. Those processes are iterative and have been updated as policies and requirements have changed, and the gateway corridors, these expressway corridors, meet all of the current standards and requirements at the federal and state level. And thus, we have systems in place to handle metals and other chemicals in the surface water runoff, and we have noise mitigation primarily through the use of noise walls, where noise mitigation was required and justified.
Thank you, John. Okay, next, what is the low income cap? Have you considered raising this cap due to higher cost of living? Carl, I'll let you handle that one.
Sure. At this time, the cap under consideration would be 200% of the federal poverty level. This is consistent with low-income programs provided to low-income individuals at the statewide level, for example, through the Department of Social and Health Services, as well as consistent with other transit discounts, such as for the Orca Lift program, where that is the cap with the federal poverty level. That's not to say there's not a recognition of cost of living being higher in Central Puget Sound, and maybe at some point in the future that could be a policy question to address. Implementing at 200% provides that consistency, supports the implementation costs and timeline, as well as providing a consistent approach for residents throughout the region on knowing what that level of eligibility would be if they were to go and look to be to enroll in such a program.
Thank you, Carl. I see Commissioner Jennings has his hand up.
Yeah, this is the Carl. Can you explain what 200% of the federal number actually is? I'm not sure if the public knows what that is. I mean, the actual amount we're talking.
Sure. It can vary by size of household. It would be between, and if I would need to pull that up really quick and get back to you as I talk here. But I'm happy to do that. If someone else has that really quick to pull up, I'm happy to get that answer before we conclude here.
Yeah, no problem. I'm just, when we say a number like that, 200% of, that doesn't actually tell us or the public what that actual dollar amount is.
Yeah.
I just found it, Carl. So for a household family size of 4, 200% of the federal poverty limit is currently $64,300 annually.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Jennifer. Okay, Commissioner Jennings, did that answer your question? Okay. All right, moving on. Why are we not able to have a flat toll rate? These flexible rates are confusing and overburdensome. Carl, why don't you handle that one?
Having the variable rate is intended to support traffic management in the facility. This is part of the direction, both in statute to consider a variable toll rate. It's also supportive of the design for the facility, where tolling is an active part of managing traffic on this corridor. And so it's that's kind of that's been the purpose of having the variable rates. In addition, I'll note that we do have a variable toll rate schedule similar to this on the SR 520 bridge as well as our S99 tunnel. And so these, as we've seen our population get used to using toll facilities, it seems to be an approach that has been accepted and part of kind of how toll facilities are operating currently in Washington State. That said, the commission, I'll speak for the commissioners at some level here, but they can certainly weigh in. There's been, we consider options for keeping that as simple as possible. Let's say, weighing the need to the capacity to support traffic management with keeping a schedule that is as simple as possible in alignment with when traffic is picking up during the day. And so certainly a consideration that overly complicated schedules can provide overly complicated situations for the public.
If you don't mind, Carl, I will also add the tolls proposed for these facilities are not dynamic in nature, meaning while they vary by time of day, they are the same every day. So that information is always available on the website if you need to know what the toll will be at a given time, if that's helpful.
Thank you, Jennifer. Okay, Carl, we have one question here. Just want to make sure I'm clear on the tolls. There will be none toll lanes as well as tolls on 167, or all of 167 will be a toll? It's an interesting question.
If I may, I think that was supposed to be non-toll lanes, and I think the question is referring to maybe some confusion between express toll lanes further north on 167 and full road tolling on the expressway. Carl, if you want to address that.
Sure. To Jennifer's point, on the 167 expressway, there between about Puyallup to Interstate 5 and 5, those will be tolled on, that expressway will be all lanes, tolling on all lanes. And the variable toll rate schedule that which is described will be in place for that facility. The express toll lanes, the 167 express toll lanes from Renton down to about Sumner, that's where it's just the one lane dynamically tolled express toll lane. And so that's a separate facility that will have a gap between where there would be a gap with opportunities for people to move out of the express toll lanes and not take the expressway if they wish, or to make that choice anyway, whichever way they're going.
Thank you, Carl. Next, when setting toll rates, the commission typically considers revenue generation and congestion management. Does the commission consider other benefits such as reduced air emissions or enhanced safety by attracting trucks to the corridor and off of surface streets?
Yes, is the bottom line answer on that. The commission's directed to meet certainly revenue requirements for the facility, as well as to support traffic management. There's also direction to align with transportation related goals, including environmental impacts and traffic diversion, consideration of diversion to local roads and other facilities. Again, this is a facility where we are going to be attracting traffic as opposed to pushing traffic onto other facilities. But that being the case, when considering which toll rates to consider, there is some push and pull there in terms of higher rates will have some effect on pushing vehicles or keeping vehicles on local roads. To the point of an example of that was the considerations I put forward on the 3+ axle vehicle toll rates. Certainly looking at how that dynamic is of having a little higher rate for trucks, for these large trucks, versus not having a higher rates, on what effect that does to for the local traffic transportation network. So, that's one example. Certainly, all the rates we consider is that looking at that balance of how it affects other facilities, local and other state facilities for that matter, as well as performance and revenue for the facility itself.
Thank you, Carl. Okay, we've come to the end of the Q&A. Kim, do we have anyone registered to testify?
Yes, we have two people so far. Um, the first one is Bryce Hanson. I've promoted you to a panelist and you'll have to unmute your mic.
There you are, Bryce.
Hello. Some of you may have seen me on before, but I just wanted to come back and reiterate my points that I had made before and also learned a little bit more today. I just wanted to make the first comment that I really disagree and am frustrated with the decision to charge the toll prior to 24th, given it's less than 3/4 of a mile off of I-5. And there's a fair amount of activity that goes on between or will be a fair amount of activity between I-5 and 24th, given the businesses that are along there. And I think it will also encourage light rail use if people are able to use that without being charged. So frustrated with that. And in Carl's comment, he said west of 99, but I believe it's east of 99. But I think that was just a semantics there. But I believe it's still going to be west of 24th Street. Based on the commuting time dollars, that's close to $1,000, maybe a little bit more, depending on what time you commute per year for someone who is commuting to that area. And there's actually a lot of businesses in this area with the recent Amazon and others moving into the Des Moines area. There's a lot of, just average Joe workers coming in there. And then my last comment would be just the low income portion of it. I don't agree that should be accounted for. We all have to pay for the roads, no matter what our income is. And people who are right there on the threshold, it's not really going to matter. They're going to either use it or not. And I question the commission to ask, or the staff to ask, what percentage of low income people actually have a pass? Are they going through the effort to get a pass, in which case they could take advantage of that? And then, as you guys have noted, all the effort to manage and enforce that, which is going to change constantly. And I'd prefer to see some sort of alleviation for both businesses and residents that are nearby the facility. They're going to help alleviate surface street traffic as a result of being able to use that section. That's the section I'm most concerned about.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson.
And did that section make sense? I-5 to 24th, northbound, southbound, either way?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next.
Next, we have Brian Gerald.
Brian, you have the floor.
Hi, I'm just here to comment as to why we need tolls in the first place. I've been doing some research, and we pay 49.4 cents per gallon at the pump towards state gas tax. Gas tax are supposed to pay for roads and pay for all this kind of construction stuff. If you extrapolate that out, if you just take my car, which takes 15 gallons, I'll even go to the general 12 gallons for each car. Comes out to 624 gallons for the year. If you extrapolate that out in how many people we have in the state that can drive, that's about 4 million people that can drive. And if you extrapolate that out towards each one, with just the 49.4 cents we're making, or the state is making off of the gas tax, that's $1 billion, $1.5 billion that goes towards roads, goes towards fixing roads. And so tolls to me are a waste of money. We make $1.5 billion. And that's just if you do 12 gallons per car. Some cars get 15, 20 gallons. Mine gets 16. Mine would be 780 gallons per year time towards that. So I don't understand why we still have to keep tolling stuff when there's other ways if we actually spend our money correctly in this state towards these kind of things. Tolls to me are a waste of time and money. And that's just simple numbers. If you actually look it up on Google or in the commission, you could see all these same numbers. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next.
So far, that's all we have signed up.
Oh, okay. Is there anyone else on the meeting today that wants to testify before the commission? Please put your name in the Q&A and let Kim promote you. I'll give it a few minutes here. Sean Egan. Kim, you want to promote Sean?
Okay, he's been promoted. If he
Sean, you have the
accepts.
floor as soon as we see you. There you are.
There we go. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sean Egan, and I'm here today on behalf of the Northwest Seaport Alliance. That's the partnership between the ports of Tacoma and Seattle for the joint management of our marine cargo operations. We appreciate the work that the Commission is facing. We know setting tolls and toll rates is complicated. It's difficult. It's not always a lot of fun. So we just appreciate your public service in this space. As I think we've talked about earlier today in the webinar, we think about tolls as generating revenue and managing traffic volumes. We usually typically think about tolls as a way to reduce volumes, but as I think we've talked about, tolls can be used as a way to incentivize certain types of vehicles to use a given corridor. It is for that reason that we are particularly interested on the question of the multi-axle versus a flat rate, and we would advocate for the use of a flat rate toll system. Recall that the primary purpose for completing State Routes 509 and 167 was to provide last mile connectors for freight seeking access to our public ports, trying to resolve some of these critical choke points. While a flat toll rate may only impact a relatively small fraction of the total vehicle volumes utilizing the corridors, WashDOT projects that this could incentivize 13% more trucks to use the tolled highways on a daily basis, 18%, particularly in the afternoon. And for 70-foot long trucks, this is meaningful. Encouraging trucks to utilize the tolled facilities will help these vehicles get off of our local city streets. They improve the supply chain efficiency, reducing shipping costs, and ultimately limiting price pressures on consumer goods in the long run. It also improves air quality. The original EIS for State Route 167 noted significant reductions in carbon monoxide and diesel particulate matter as trucks can move more smoothly on limited access freeways as opposed to idling at local stoplights. There's also a safety component. The multiple intersections, turns, driveways, and whatnot that you see on a surface street along the route usually result in accident ratios that are 20 to 70% higher than on statewide averages for similarly constructed freeways. So bottom line is encouraging trucks to use tolled corridors is good for the economy. It is good for local roadways. It's good for the environment, and it's good for traffic safety. And so with that in mind, the Seaport Alliance would encourage the commission to utilize a flat toll rate structure when imposing tolls on the Puget Sound Gateway. Thanks.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you for your comments. Do we have additional people who want to testify? Oh, looks like we do. Donna Hart. Kim, if you could promote her.
Donna's been promoted.
There you are. You have the floor, Donna. Donna, you'll have to unmute.
Are you able to hear me now?
We are, yes.
Okay. My concern is, number one, we already have too many existing tolls as it is. We have significant tolls on 405 and significant tolls on 520. They are unending tolls. They have no final date. What you're going to do is you're simply going to add more tolls to 509 and to 169, thereby persecuting car drivers further as they just try and get to their jobs. That's against the population. You're literally just voting against the population at this part. And I want to know what the timeline is with relationship to when does this toll end? Why isn't it a flat toll? It's a simplistic situation if it's a flat toll. It does not need to be an adjusted rate each and every day. That's lovely that it's the same rate every day for high traffic times. It's not going to change. People want to be in their vehicles. They do not want to take public transit. Public transit is also not very safe. There are many accidents and things that happen. There are many people that are accosted and assaulted at the transit public stations. I encourage the four of you who are on this to tell me how many of you take public transit on a daily basis, and if you'll take that, if you're willing to take that each and every day. Because if you're wanting me to get out of my car, I want to know that you're out of your car first before you're proposing this to us. So those are my comments.
Thank you very much for your comments. Kim, anyone else?
We have no one else signed up in the Q&A box.
Okay. I'm going to give it just a few more minutes. See no others. Okay, I'll declare the public comment portion closed. Madam Chair?
We may have one more
one more?
person who would like
Oh,
to be
Kim Roscoe
promoted.
wants to say that public transit is safe. Thank you, Kim.
Okay.
That's it. Madam Chair.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Restucci. I think we have one more slide. I think Carl is going to tell us about next steps. We're not adopting a toll rate today, so Carl will tell us about the process ahead.
Thank you. And one further follow-up on Commissioner Jennings' question for what was addressed, what the federal poverty level was for a household of four, for one individual, that would equate to $15,650. So that would be the 200% of the poverty level for a single individual. So with that, next steps.
Carl, for cleaning that up.
Sure thing. No, I appreciate the question, Commissioner. So next steps in the toll rate setting process. Thank you again to everyone who participated today and yesterday in the virtual public input meetings. Our online open house continues through this Sunday. And then we will meet in Bellevue, Bellevue City Hall on April 16th to select a toll rate proposal. So you'll have the options in front of you, and you'll move forward with a preferred toll rate proposal for the commission on that date. And then following that, there'll be the final public hearing for adoption of toll rates and policies at our June commission meeting, June 17th and 18th, with intent to have toll rates and policies largely take effect on October 2025 with the opening of the SR 509, first segment of the SR 509 facility. As noted, there will be public comment opportunities with written public comment taking place, particularly following the selection of the toll rate proposal on April 16th, and then at the public hearing as well in June. So if any questions from commissioners, happy to address that now.
Okay. Would any commissioners like to make any comments before we close the meeting?
Madam Chair, I would just like to thank the staff, WashDOT, and all the people who participated today and yesterday. I appreciate all the comments. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no other raised hands, I would echo Commissioner Restucci's comments. We appreciate everyone taking time to be informed about this process and the toll rates and being thoughtful and providing us your comments. We take them seriously, and I certainly understand many of them. So thank you for your time, and we'll take all of this under consideration. We'll be making a selection of a toll rate, as Carl said, in Bellevue, and then we will have a further opportunity for comment. So hearing nothing else, we'll close this virtual public input meeting. Thank you for your attendance.